Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Truejoy Fox, your host for Talks with a Fox podcast. I am so happy you have joined me on this journey of self discovery, where I will share stories and lessons that I have learned through my journey as a teacher, as an artist, as a Blackfoot woman, and as a human being. I will also be sharing my conversations with some amazing human beings that I have met who are living inspirational lives and leading with purpose as they share their gifts with the world. Now get ready to be inspired, to feel connected, and to dream big as you grow your goals and reflect on your own journey in this exciting place called life. So grab a coffee or a tea and join our conversation here in the Fox Den for Talks with a Fox podcast, where we will share stories, laughter, and inspiration. Taking care of my body is very important to me so I can continue to enjoy the health benefits of a physically active lifestyle. That's why I believe in products that help with post-workout recovery and cognitive function. Everyday Natural Products is a Washington homegrown brand that formulates everything themselves, from a wide variety of vitamin and nutritional supplements and ingredients, all healthy for humans and pets. Natural products you can feel good about taking every day. Please visit www.enpstore.com and be sure to use TWAF as a discount code for your health and wellness products today, so you too can enjoy the health benefits of everyday natural products. Okay, and hello, everybody. I want to welcome a very special guest that I have had the pleasure of knowing for over 5 years now. Wow, time really flies. And more importantly, this individual has accomplished a lot more since I've met him. I mean, he was already doing some amazing things at the time we met, and looking at where his journey has taken him up to this point, there's just so much to celebrate. I am super honored to introduce my good friend and somebody who's from the Blackfoot Confederacy, from my sister tribe, Siksika First Nations, Rilee ManyBears,
Hey, how's it going?
Iinomaahka.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's going really well. I hope that I pronounced your name, your Blackfoot name properly. Can you say that for everyone?
Oh yeah, okay, nistu ni Daniku Iinomaahka Itum Tutu Siksagawa. Hello everyone, I'm Rilee ManyBears. My Blackfoot name is Iinomaahka, meaning Run the Buffalo, and I'm from the Siksika Nation, part of the Blackfoot Confederacy. So yeah.
Wonderful. That is such an incredible name. There's so much strength in that name. And I mean, I have to say, it really suits you.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was honored. I was given this name about 5 years ago, around October, as I was setting off my journey to Brazil, competing at the first annual World Indigenous Games representing Team Canada. So, yeah, two respectable elders from the community of Siksika, Spike and Alvin, Eagle Speaker, gave me that name as I was leaving. So it was an honor, and then not only that, but the story behind that name was so powerful, and of course, like I'm very honored that they gave me this name, and I and I acknowledge this name proudly. So yeah.
Yes, you are definitely living up to it.
Yeah.
So, there is just so much that I'm excited to talk with you about today. So, the first thing I want to start off with is the World Indigenous Games. 2015, you were competing in the World Indigenous Games in Brazil and you won the gold medal. Can you tell us all about that experience? How did you When did you decide to travel to Brazil? What was that? I'm sure that experience in itself was quite different, coming from Canada, going to another country, another part of the world, and of course, being around many Indigenous people from around the world. So, can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah, like you mentioned before, like time does fly by, and I know that around this time of year, I was kind of dealing with a health barrier at the time, and I was diagnosed with a severe heart disease called Parkinson's, and so alongside your previous guest, Doris Butrief, we're elite athletes in the track and field world and whatnot. So, of course, I had other athletic goals I was trying to pursue at that time, and trying to make the national team. Being this young 19-year-old kid, and sure enough, I had to like drop out, and of course, doctors' recommendations were, to stop sports, and of course, I was a little upset about that because, I was really doubting myself, this young 19-year-old kid, saying, oh, why does it have to happen to me? And, like, why do I deserve this? And of course, the doctors are kind of giving me like the bad news and was saying like, you may never compete again. I'm like, oh, this is the worst news I ever heard in my athletic life and personal life and career and whatnot. And so, yeah, I've heard about the first annual World Indigenous Games earlier that year of February 2015. And I would say around that time, I was going through some personal issues, like 2 years of June 27th, 2013, my dad passed away just as I was finished high school at the time. And, like I was going through a dark depression, getting that, living that negative lifestyle, drugs and alcohol, just to cope with my depression and pain and, losing a father. Not only that, but, getting the family feud with with my mom at the time. And, just being my three younger siblings, my brother and two younger sisters. And, around that earlier that year, I was kind of living a dark moment. I attempted suicide, but I didn't. My younger sister was there to intervene. And of course, I was heavily intoxicated at the time. And, just as I was about to take my life, of course, there was the suicidal note, but, she was there to intervene. And, so she told me, what is your goals in life? And I pretty much wrote down my goals. So the suicidal note turned into a goal note. And so I pretty much wrote down my goals and lifetime dreams and whatnot. And so I fast forwarded to July of 2015. I got this call out of the blue asking if I wanted to represent Team Canada at the first annual World Indigenous Games down in Brazil. And so I was thrilled. I was ecstatic. And of course, I didn't even think about my health issue at the time. And so I said, all right, let's do this. But, I met with my doctor and, they gave me the approval and they told me just to train safe, not to overextend it. And of course, me being this young, hot-headed 19-year-old kid, fired up and whatnot. And yeah, it was great. I'm very grateful for the amazing support I had, the amazing coaches, my amazing teammates who still gave me a shape for the games. And of course, some of the training was a little different than the typical distance runner. It's more like a lot of breathing exercises, a lot of meditation, and just training the mind, body, and spirit. And so it was something that I never done before, but I was very grateful that I was able to switch my training up. And of course, the distance running, if you do it constantly over and over again, it gets a little stale. And so yeah, and it was great. I was in great shape. All my family and friends we had a little last minute get together before my departing, but that's when I received my Blackfoot name, and it was an honor. And then they told me the story and why Iinomaahka. I was like, okay. And so the elders said, run a buffalo. Let's say, when a storm comes, all these animals will turn its back from the storm and run in the opposite direction. But what a buffalo does, he just marches through the storm. He doesn't turn its back. And he said, with every storm you encounter, you don't turn your back on. You just keep moving forward. And the many upcoming storms in your life you'll endure, won't turn your back. You'll keep going through. And so that pretty much symbolizes my whole entire life. And I've been through many storms after storm. And, I've learned many lessons from my personal experiences, from my depression, my anxiety, and all these other things that pretty much held me back. And so, yeah, it was great. It was actually my first time flying down, period. And so it was kind of a long flight. So for the first time, but it was great. But I get down to the games,
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, I was dealing with identity loss. I didn't know who I was. I was ashamed to be First Nations because with all the negative stereotypes, comments about our people, saying that we're drunks and low lights, we're not going to get anywhere, living on welfare, we're deadbeats. I just didn't really like hearing those comments and all of that. But the way the media portrays us, we're bad people, and I just didn't like hearing that. But I get down to these games.
Mm-hmm.
The opening ceremonies was a highlight for me because seeing all this indigenous culture from all over the world coming together, not celebrating sport, but celebrating our life. And, I held my nation flag proudly, and I thought about all the people I've met and all the community, and the community of Siksika was behind my back. And I never realized the many responses I've been getting were positive. A lot of messages on social media, a lot of best wishes, and I carried the flag, my nation's flag, proudly, and yeah, it was yeah, after that opening ceremony, I told myself like, wow, this is amazing. I'm proud to be Indigenous, and so yeah.
Wow. What a story and what a life you have already lived so far, and so much strength and resiliency. And s- I'm just very, first of all, I want to acknowledge what you have shared. I honor what you have shared, and I really respect what you have done to be able to pull yourself through, push yourself through very challenging situations. And I see that in you, though. I see that you carry that wherever you go. And I know that you have really made your community and First Nations peoples in all the communities, and young people. You've made lots of people really proud, and you're living what you believe in. And I know that when you went to Brazil, I remember seeing the pictures of you all over social media, and I was thinking, wow, I have to know this person. I have to connect with him. I need my cross country athletes. And at the time when I was teaching junior high. I thought, wow, this would be so great to have our young Indigenous students meet Rilee and hear his story and look to him for strength and as an example of, we can't anticipate when life hands us some very hard situations to go through, and such as loss, grief, death in our communities. That's such a hard one that we do endure as a people. But you have been able to come through those, and you've turned it into a way that you can use to not only help yourself but help your communities. I want to know about your connection to your community. I see the work that you're doing with Siksika Recreation and the Siksika N7 team. I've had the joy of meeting some of the team members that you work with, and of course, Mr. Tyler White. He's been such a wonderful anchor in your community and supporting wellness. Can you tell me more, though, about what the Siksika Recreation Team does and the SN7, Siksika N7 does in your community, what role they have in supporting wellness?
Yeah, so I've been part of the SM7 program ever since December of 2015. I think I came on after my success of my gold medal from the first annual World Indigenous Games, and of course, at the time, after my victory coming home, of course, there was the victory rally, which I was unaware of, and at that time, being a young kid, of course, still experiencing that party environment. Of course, I celebrated, and of course, from that moment on, I knew that I was being called a positive role model, and I was like, well, I still party here and there, but and then it kind of like bugged me because as I go back to my childhood, growing up, I grew up in a very dysfunctional environment, drugs and alcohol. My parents were heavily into addictions, and also because they experienced trauma from their parents, my grandparents, from the residential school. I'm a third generation, and of course, that trauma and that stigma. And so I pretty much was living in that environment. Of course, grew up poor and not having the latest things or not having much clothes or shoes and whatnot. And but I'm kind of grateful I experienced those times because they made me who I am today. They made me appreciate the little things in life. They made me more humble and whatnot. But like what I lacked was role models, positive role models, because I had older cousins, all older people that I know of was living that negative lifestyle, drinking and doing drugs and whatnot. And so I told myself at a very young age, I don't want to be that person. I want to break that stigma, break that stereotypical person. But the only role models the only role models I had at the time was just these fictional characters, like some of these comic book heroes, superheroes, these anime characters who had really, they pretty much taught me how to never give up in life and always persevere and always push and always dream big. And so that was pretty much my role models growing up. And then, of course, after my success, and I go down to that moment after winning the gold medal, I was like, well, I'm a positive role model now. People are calling me, but I'm not. And so, of course, and yeah, but I've been part of the SM7 program December 2015, and that's how I got on, was because of my success at the first annual World Indigenous Games and winning the gold medal. And of course, my brother Braden was working with SM7 at the time, and it was around December. I was just still upgrading in school, and just trying to figure out on where I want to be in life. And so he asked me, so like, yeah, would you want to work for 2 weeks? I was like, yeah, sure. I don't mind making a few bucks. And so and that's heard about the SM7 program, and in which this SM7 program was basically a pilot project of the summer of 2015, which was the idea of the CEO of Siksika Health Services, Tyler White. And he just had this vision in which we're more than happy to fulfill his dream and vision on what he had for this program, SM7. Ever since then, it's been amazing. And also, I know that Siksika Health Services pretty much took Siksika Recreation under Health Services. I don't know like the history of that, but whatever. But and so Recreation has been under Siksika Health Services, and SM7 has been in our Siksika Health Services pilot project ever since. And then it's been an amazing almost coming 5 years with them. And not only that, but yeah, it's been great in his leadership, and I'm really happy to represent our nation in a positive way, and also going out to these community functions, these schools, just to promote healthy well-being, physical literacy, and culture. And so yeah, it's been great.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you are not only focusing on your goals and your dreams, but you're also, while you're doing that, in the midst of doing that, you are also contributing to your community. And it's so important, I believe, that when we as Indigenous people, and if we're working in a leadership capacity, that, we're not only focusing on our goals so that we can continue to fulfill our potential, but people like you who are also giving back to your community and contributing. And those are, when we think about our Blackfoot ways of being, our Blackfoot way of life, ni bata beat sinun, it's really about contributing to the community, giving back, and remaining connected, and fulfilling our gifts that Creator has bestowed upon us. And I want to commend you for that, because you are not only making a difference in your own life, but in the lives of many other people, younger and older people. It's just really amazing. And I'm truly enjoying watching your journey unfold. And I mean, I look at all your accomplishments up to this point. I want to talk to you about the Boston Marathon. How exciting that must have been for you. And I mean, you're amidst thousands of runners, and you're not only representing your community, you're representing Canada. What was that experience like for you? How did it feel to be, among other runners and all the energy you must have, experienced? Can you tell me about that moment in your life?
Yeah. So yeah, the Boston Marathon. Yeah. Like wow. Like well. Seems like I'm getting old. Well, then again, I feel old sometimes. But you know, I go back. Yeah. So yeah, I ran the Boston Marathon in April of 2016, and it was amazing how I got a personal invite because 3 years before competing, so 2013, my senior year of high school, one of my teachers who taught me in grade six ran the Boston Marathon that very year. Yeah. Oh, so I had a teacher in grade six who ran it in 2013, and that was the same year. Of course, the Boston bombings were happening, and then we go 3 years later, and oh, actually, in my senior year of high school, I told myself like, oh, I want to run the Boston Marathon, and of course, she came back to school. I was just asking her about it, like, oh, what was the Boston Marathon like? And she said it's probably one of the greatest races I ever ran in my life. And so I made a goal.
Wow.
I made a goal myself. It's like one of these days I want to run the Boston Marathon. And it's funny because a marathon is totally different from your typical 5K, 10K race. It's 42.2 kilometers. And of course, that very year of 2013, I took a chance to run my very first marathon. But it was so funny because I didn't train for it. I just want to challenge it mentally. But it's so funny because I remember running my first marathon. I was about 18 years old and way too young. Usually marathon runners usually around like mid 30s and up, or early 30s and up. And so
Yeah.
this young 18-year-old kid challenged the distance, in which it's so funny because I was feeling great. Of course, my legs were a little stiff, they were a little cramped up, and I was like, oh, okay, I was like, okay, I think I conquered the marathon. And of course, the course marshal was like, you're only halfway there. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And so that's when
Oh gosh.
that's when my mental game was like, okay. I was like, well, I didn't come all this way up here to Edmonton, sorry, to give up, to quit. And so I pretty much just ran the half of the marathon with a strong mental game. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
so yeah, I end up crossing the finish line, getting my finisher's medal. I go to my uncle Tyler and I told him about the experience. He starts laughing, but I told him, I was like, I had a goal to finish it, and so I did. But yeah, so I go to the Boston Marathon, and I was like, wow, this is great. And then 3 weeks before, that's when I had my little heart procedure to correct my heart disease I dealt with earlier of 2015, that very summer. And so I got this personal invite from my mentor and hero, Billy Mills, because that very year they were honoring Native American champions who won the Boston Marathon. Not only Native Americans, but they honored Tom Longboat, Tarzan Brown, and Native American athletes who won the historic world-renowned marathon race. And so his foundation, Running Strong for American Indian Youth, was creating this team to run the Boston Marathon. Only five, and of course, he was only picking five Americans. But he's like, well, I have this young Canadian kid and whatnot, and I got to know him earlier this year. I think it'll be great for him, and so he asked me to be part of this team, this Running Strong team. I was like, oh, I was like, wow. I was like, well, he's like, well, I know that it's such short of a notice, but are you in? I was like, oh, definitely. I was like, well, there's one thing I didn't tell him. Ugh, I got a little heart procedure just 3 weeks before the Boston Marathon. And then of course, I didn't, I asked the docs if we could reschedule it, but they said, well, it's not going to be for another year. It's like, oh, I was like, well, then again, I'm young. Let's get this. And so I ended up going to procedure. I was awake during the procedure, and it was great. And well, not great, but I knew for a fact that nothing was going to happen because there was a little I was a little scared during my procedure because option A didn't work, and of course we dealt, and I was awake during procedure. We go with option B, and they're telling me like, well, it's a little risky.
Okay.
It's a little risky, it's a 50-50, like, you could either live or die during the procedure. I was like, I'm young, that's just bull talk. Don't worry, I got this. And the doctors liked my charisma, and of course it was a success. It was
Mm-hmm.
great. And then I was a little beat up for a week. I was just bed rest for a week, and then I was like, well, I got 2 weeks just to get fit. And I
Mm-hmm.
go down to the Boston Marathon, and it was kind of great because my uncle Tyler and Auntie Krista, they heard about it, like, oh, are you going to Boston? They're like, well, I want on in. I was like, okay, that's great, family support. And so we did a little fundraising. Of course, I reached out to a few corporations for some financial support, sponsors, and it was great. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
I get to the Boston Marathon. There's a little presentation about Native American champions, and so Billy Mills spoke, and Run Strong for American Indian Youth. Descendants of Tarzan Brown's family and Tonga Longboat's family were there, and it was great. And so
Wow.
and then also yeah, like I and then and it was great, just hanging around with my mentor and his beautiful wife, Patricia Mills. We're just enjoying Boston. We hanged out a few times, and of course, just, and then it was kind of bad because I was getting the whole Boston experience. The day before the race, Patriots Day, was the Red Sox game. I was like, oh, why not? I was like, and the Boston Red Sox game. I was like, oh, I wish the Boston Celtics were in the playoffs, but I was like, I'm more than happy to sit and enjoy a ball game at the historic. I think
Yeah.
Boston Red Sox. I forgot the stadium called. But anyways, it was great, and not only that, but we like got the chance to sit like first row or something, and it was just great. And of course, I was a little exhausted from just picking up my race package and just picking up all these last minute gifts, and of course I kind of fell asleep at the ball game. And of course I told my friends who are baseball fanatics, not only that, but Toronto Blue Jays were in town. And so like, oh, like why would you sleep in the game? I was like, oh,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And so the Blue Jays kicked the Boston Red Sox butt, and so yeah, my friends were getting mad at me like, oh, why did you sleep in the ball game? I was like, well, it was a long day, and I'm not that, but I was sitting in the heat, and I was wearing a hoodie, and yeah, it was just, but it was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
And then so it's kind of a process of just getting to the starting line of the Boston Marathon, and of course, I was in my running attire, my short shorts, and my singlet, and it was really cold in the morning. I had to drop all my stuff off at this little drop off tent where my phone and sweats and jacket is, and of course this bus shuttle us way up
Mm-hmm.
to the starting line, and I was a little tired,
Wow.
and just seeing just the whole process, like thousands of people, like 30, I believe 30,000 people from all over the world were there, and just like lineup after lineup, and the first wave was the elite runners, and I was in the second wave, and it was pretty cool because the second wave, the start and gun marshal was Billy Mills. I was like, oh hey, and sure enough, yeah, it was great, in 26.2 miles, 42.2 kilometers of a race, and and then I go back to my grade 6 teacher saying like it's like the best race in the world, and she definitely didn't lie because from the first mile, first kilometer to the last, is just jam packed on the sidelines. People screaming, encouraging you, and just the history of it. And so there'll be times
Mm-hmm.
where, of course, I'll be a little just kind of like walk, and of course, like, you can keep going. Like, all right, I got this, I got this. And it's kind of funny because about halfway through, there's this college dorm girls, and of course they're like doing free kisses. Like I'm way on the other side. Like, oh, I was like, oh, cute. Like, oh, I guess I missed it, but it's all good though. Like next time. So I got to miss the free kiss and all that. But anyways, and so we get to the historic Heartbreak Hill, and so Heartbreak Hill was named after Tarzan Brown, a Native American who won the Boston Marathon. And the little story behind that story, well, behind Heartbreak Hill, is when Tarzan Brown won the Boston Marathon in the early 1900s. He's going after this non-Aboriginal guy, this white guy, and then they get to that mile 20. It's around Heartbreak Hill, and then he taps on this guy's shoulder, and he says, "I'll see you later." Tarzan Brown just takes off, and that's when they broke his heart. That's why they call it Heartbreak Hill. And it's kind of funny because in that race, Tarzan Brown dipped his feet in the river, Hudson River or whatever, and and it ends up running back just to cool down and whatnot. And so yeah, it's just amazing. And I get there, and I've seen a bunch of Native Americans, First Nations people on the sidelines with their flags, and it's so powerful. And of course, I seen a few people hand drumming. I ran by them, just getting a high five, and they gave me the the warrior cry and a high five, and it was powerful. And then it's kind of funny because I crossed the finish line. It was great. And my auntie gave me the Siksika flag, and it was kind of funny because usually after running that distance, your legs are usually cramped up and whatnot. But for me, I wasn't cramped up because, of course, every time I compete or go somewhere, I always get asked for a face painting ceremony, pipe ceremony, whatever, just just for prayers and whatnot. And I got my legs painted, my face painted, arms painted, and I was like, wow. I was like, and then I wasn't sore, and it was great. And then the next morning I woke up, I wasn't sore. Like I was like, oh wow, I feel like I could run another marathon. It's the power of prayer. Like I believed in it, and it's amazing. And so we had brunch with Billy Mills that day and his wife, and yeah, we end up heading home, and yeah, it was great. And of course, it was Olympic year, Olympic trials was coming up, and of course, I came back, did a little checkup with my doctor, and so what my doctor said, I got a checkup from return from the Boston Marathon, and my doctor said, it's there's a little hiccup here, but like you should never did that at your body and your heart just after 3 weeks after a heart procedure. I was like, okay. And then she said, just take a few rests. And of course, there's Olympic year. And then I tried to qualify, but, I just wasn't in the greatest shape because after 2 months after heart surgery, because it kind of catches up to you. I was okay about it. Like, I'm very young and I'll get it next time.
Yeah.
And it's always great to have that attitude. And yeah, that's the Boston Marathon story.
Oh, yes. Well, you only just had a surgery and then ran the Boston Marathon. I mean,
yeah,
who does that?
yeah,
That's amazing. Such an incredible story.
Yeah, I told a lot of people about that, and it was kind of cool because after running the Boston Marathon, I was out in this little area, and then seeing Tarzan Brown's family, the descendants, they came up to me and they acknowledged me, and they're saying like I didn't know you had heart surgery about 3 weeks before our procedure. Like yeah, like oh wow, that's amazing. And and then not only that, but the greatest comment was saying like my grandfather would be proud of you, and I was like, oh wow, that's so powerful.
Wow.
And they said, one of these years you'll win it. And I was like, well, don't worry, one of these years, I'll switch from the track to marathon. So yeah, that was great hearing those kind of feedback and comments.
Wow. I got goosebumps when you told that story, and I was just going through all the images in my mind of what it must have been like for you. And, that image of the drummers on the side when you got to Heartbreak Hill that's such a powerful image. And as you go to all these different runs and competitions that you do in your area of elite sports, I mean, you meet so many people and you're collecting all of these memories and these experiences. And it sounds like you have not only embraced them, but they've become part of who you are. And that's just so exciting. I mean, wow. I started thinking about the different things that you do in your community. And not only do you, work with your youth and just your community as a whole around supporting wellness, I notice that you also do a lot of speaking engagements. But I see that they're the type of speaking engagements that are truly making an impact on the people that are there, such as being an AMA Youth Run Club ambassador, and then speaking at We Day, which is such an amazing place to share your story with so many youth across the country coming to hear you speak. What does it mean to be an AMA Youth Run Club ambassador? What is your role like in that area?
Yeah, so not only am I a proud AMA Youth Run Club ambassador, but I'm also like proud Spirit North ambassador as well. So I'm ambassador for two amazing nonprofit organizations that really help and serve First Nation communities within the province of Alberta and also like Saskatchewan, British Columbia, and also Manitoba. And so yeah, I would say it's been quite the journey, especially my speaking journey. When I got an invite from you, Andrea, come to your guys' school down in Kainai, I was a little thrilled, I was a little nervous I was like, wow, I never spoke before. And then, of course, like I remember it so well because I got my first medallion, my first hoodie, and I was like, oh, wow, this is great. Is this what speakers get? I'm pretty sure, I've been enjoying the swag over these past couple of years, but, yeah, I would say it's been an amazing 5 years of speaking. Not only that, but I got the opportunity to meet some amazing people. Not only that, but also educate people, the non-Aboriginal community.
Yes.
Explaining what
Yes.
was it like of growing up under res, the challenges we face, and also sorry, also tell them about yeah, the life. And not only that, but they don't really get it. Of course, the media, as I mentioned before, the media portrays us in a different way. They just think that we're just a wholly different environment in which it is, but
Hmm.
it's not all negative. Sometimes it's great, and so they never realize that. Oh wow, I didn't know the res could be so peaceful. Like, well, it's always mostly peaceful. It's just like some of those people who live in a negative environment.
Hmm.
It's not their fault. It's the residential school. All that
Yeah.
trauma that our people face from school, and so yeah, it's been great. Not only that, but it's been a kind of a healing journey with me because I usually don't open up with my emotions. Like after losing my dad, close to attempting suicide, and also
Hmm.
the adversity I faced. Losing a lot of family members, this teen suicide. Close cousins who I grew up with and
Yeah.
developed amazing memories with. And then it just gives them a sense of hope. Not only that, but the kids. Like I get amazing feedback from them, and yeah, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy going to these amazing communities, First Nation communities. Not only that, but it's very rewarding because not only I'm a full time athlete and a full time worker, but just meeting all these kids. Like I'm not getting younger, and once I meet these kids, some of them I can really relate to the many obstacles I grew up with.
Hmm.
Someone's in there that's going through what I was going through, and just give them a sense of hope and inspiration. Not only that, but I always tell them that just message me on social media. I'm more than happy to give you advice and whatnot. And it's kind of sad because that's kind of sad and good because I actually there's a few people over the years that try to attempt suicide, but I pretty much talked to them, saying like it's okay what you're going through. Just
Yes.
speak with someone. Not only that, but your teachers are always there. Just tell them what's going on because when I was your age, I didn't open up to any teachers. I didn't tell them what was going on and whatnot. And so I said, the safe place is a school.
Hmm.
Your teachers are not there to judge you; they're there to inspire you and also to help you learn in this world. And so it's been great with these amazing speaking engagements. I got to meet some amazing people and speaking at We Day and speaking at the the Calgary Hitman Be Brave game, and I spoke in a pack saddle dome talking about bullying awareness, and also just be yourself and always be a good person. And also We Day spoke at the Rogers Palace, and it was just sold out, jam packed with kids, students, and whatnot. And yeah, it's been really great, and the amazing people you meet in the speaking world, and which is kind of funny because I never took any speaking engagement classes, public speaking. I just pretty much just winged it or just like learned from speakers I met and are seen from community functions and events. So yeah.
Well, I mean, when I hear you speak, you are speaking from your heart. And that is a really solid characteristic of a strong speaker, just speaking from your heart. And that's when people are able to truly embrace your message and absorb what it is you're saying and sharing. And I really appreciate that you talked about how, as you're sharing these stories, it really is about being part of your healing journey. And as Indigenous people, as Nitsitapi people, we are on a healing
Hmm.
journey. And um, I see that you include that in your work and the way that you carry yourself. And that's so amazing and such an incredible way to live purposefully and to support others along the way as well. And I believe that young people, especially, children and youth and young people really are looking for those other voices amongst, the younger generations, and who are saying, you know what, it's okay. It's okay that you're feeling this way. And, it won't always be like this, or, I've been there, having somebody else be able to say that, and who's also, living on a very purposeful path, shows them that, there is a way out of, a way to come through feeling that way, and like you mentioned, suicide is unfortunately a very, very traumatic um, thing that is happening in our community. So I commend you for the work you do. And
Hmm.
I really appreciate how you talked about prayer. I mean, that is that's our core, that helps us to stay strong and come through these things. And, you're a living example of resiliency and strength, and also thriving. I believe as Indigenous people, the way our ancestors used to live, it wasn't about just being in survival mode. It was really about thriving. And
Hmm.
you are
Yeah.
thriving, Rilee. And, I really respect you for that. And I do remember when you came down to speak to the students in Agana, and they were just so in awe of you. And the teachers too really appreciated the message that you shared. I mean, as teachers, like you said, we are there to encourage and support our students and to give them that love and encouragement. And we share these messages, and it's great, and they hear it from us, but it's also really wonderful to have that reinforcement from somebody on the outside coming into the schools, and just reinforcing what we want our students to know about themselves, and to be able to have faith in their path and their journey. So such incredible and meaningful work that you do, Rilee. um, I want to talk a little bit about as we move along here, the McFarland Half Marathon that you joined the Ghana Running Warriors on in McFarland, California in 2017. I remember, I did I believe it was the 6K, me and the runners, and that's what we trained for. And you did the half marathon. And so when we were done running, we were all waiting and cheering for you at the finish line. And I really love watching you run, Rilee. You it's like you're gliding, and you're you just came through the finish line, and it was like, wow, it he makes it look so graceful. And it reminded me of how our warriors must have looked when they were running across the plains to go scout out, areas. And keep watch for, miles ahead and make sure that our tribes were safe, and, how they were when they were hunting the buffalo. And that's the image that I always affiliate you with, is a warrior. And so, can you tell us about that experience? Working with youth. I mean, you've done so much, but I mean, I want to acknowledge how you have been a mentor to many, and like I said, including the Running Warriors. And tell us about McFarland.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember it so well. I remember you asking me about if I wanted to travel with you guys, and I was like, yeah, for sure. And of course, I was really excited, and I was pretty much. I was like, okay, I'll run the 10K down there, and then it's funny because I told my family, Krista, my uncle, Chris, my auntie and uncle, Chris and Tyler about it. They're like, huh. Next thing, and then the other day I went to go visit them. Next thing, like, oh, when are you planning to go? I was like, oh, this weekend of May or something. This was like maybe a month and a half. They're like, huh. Like, how about instead of because we're talking about flying, I remember that, and then they pretty much just like next thing I remember I was telling my uncle like, huh, maybe how about just a road trip? I know it's time for you just to get out of the office for a week or two and just enjoy a nice drive, like. And of course I was telling them like, okay, we'll spend the night here in Idaho, spend a night or two in Vegas, and we'll go meet up in McFarland with the Kainai Running Warriors. And I was like, even though it's we could go visit Billy and Pat on the way up, and so none of that. But in the state of California on May 6th was declared Billy Mills Day, and so of course he liked the idea, and it's like, all right, I'll book it off in my schedule, and so we just made a trip out of it, a nice family trip. So like myself, my brother Braden, my cousin Drew, Krista, and Tyler, and yeah, it was so great because I remember watching the McFarlane movie in February of 2015. That's when I was going through my dark time, depression, and it's just like something about
Yeah.
running. Something about running. It's just amazing, and that movie really inspired me. It's so funny because like, oh wow, I gotta meet the real life people in which sadly that very end of that November year 2015, he invited the coach Jim White to be one of the keynote speakers for when I came down to Afghanistan, and
Yeah.
sadly something happened, but of course things happen for a reason. And then yeah, we
Yeah.
get we get down to McFarland. It was great, and yeah, but I was kind of training at sort of at altitude, 3,500 feet, and then down there was sea level. So I was like, okay, I got a lot of oxygen, red blood cells, and energy, and so and just the rich culture of the community and all that. But I always respected various cultures of the world, none of that. But of course the Mexicans and all their traditional dancing and singing, it was great, none of that. But just seeing all the kids, excited, amped up, and they're talking about, oh, can't wait to go to Los Angeles and this and that. Just asking,
Wow.
just giving them pointers. And of course, we did the little the group, hype up before the race. And it's funny because I was looking at I was like, yeah, I'm registered for a 10K, but like, well, I'll try to do the half marathon. I think I'm in great half marathon shape. And then sure enough, end up winning it. And of course, they gave me a little prize money. And I remember I donated to you guys. I was like, yeah, like the kids will enjoy it more than I will. And so, yeah, it was so much
Yeah.
fun. And I really enjoyed my time down there, just mentoring them, and also just hanging around with you, Coach Fox. And yeah, it was great. And sometimes I look back and like, yeah, it was a great time. And it was a great family trip as well. And my family competed as well. And yeah, it was great.
Yes, I know the kids just, were cheering for you. I remember them after they were having their snacks after their 6K, and then we heard you coming. Some of us were watching a little further down the line and announcing your arrival through the finish line. And I remember the night before as well, you were mentoring the team and talking to them about what would be good to eat the night before a race, and just sharing your wisdom with them. And I know that it really helped to reinforce what I was teaching them as their coach as well. Um, and yeah, what an incredible experience. I mean, yeah, I remember we got to meet the original McFarlane runners, the Diaz brothers,
Go
and
ahead.
all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
others, and they welcomed us. They were, I know you'll recall, they were really welcoming, and we got to go to the high school, and even the race pathway, the route that we all ran. I remember seeing as we were running past the fields there. I remember seeing them in the movie. Like
Yeah,
everything was filmed there,
yeah.
and I thought it was just so neat. There was a moment where there was a water station approaching, and when I was running with my niece Nayla, and I believe she was 8 at the time, and we quickly grabbed one of the mini water cups from the people there at the water station. And I remember we were running through, and on to the right of us there was the field there and the trees. I believe that's where they had the oranges, I think it was, and where their coach Jim White was, he'd ride his
Oh
bike and
yeah,
we'd
yeah.
run along with him and be training. And it just felt so surreal.
Yeah,
Like we kind of looked for a moment. We wanted to stop and of course take pictures, but hello, we're on a race,
oh yeah,
here. So
yeah. Yeah, it
we
was.
just both said, wow,
Yeah,
there's the scene from the movie.
yeah. No, it was great. Like just being in an environment, and not only that, but it was a little humid, and the weather was just perfect and right. And yeah, like not only that, but just running through the community, and especially the little festivity that was going on. Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed the run, and everyone was so supportive, encouraging, and also I was very honored to give a little pep talk for the running warriors and just be a mentor for them. And it
Yeah.
was so great because um, I heard these kids are like, yeah, I got a personal best, PR. I was like, oh, that's great. And you're right about the what to eat before a race, and of course, yeah, no, it was like stuff like that. It makes my job rewarding.
Yes, and really, I want to thank you not only for embracing and supporting that experience with the team that I was coaching, but also just for the work you do in all of our communities, and being that voice for advocate for Indigenous people, and it's amazing. Um, so. Can you tell me about The Failure Way, the documentary that featured you? I believe people can view it on Vimeo, or if anyone does a Google search of you, that will come up in the search, The Failure Way. But tell me about how that came about, how you got involved with that.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't actually watch or read about my articles. It's just something that I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like you ever looking in the sun, you just can't look at it anymore. That's how I feel when I look at myself. And so yeah, I remember in 2014, I had a cousin. Her name is Kelsey Solway, and so she was doing her degree program at MRU for like journalism or something, communications or whatever. And so she did like a little video feature of me, an interview about me. And of course, I was like, yeah, sure. And then of course, it got great response, great feedback, and she ends up winning like some sort of journalism award for the feature about me. And so yeah, like
Wow.
I've done a few like video projects. The Failure Way, yeah. I remember just one afternoon, I was doing my regular workout, and I got an email from a producer with, I think he works with TELUS at the time, or I think he still works with TELUS, but he was developing these documentary series with TELUS, and then he's like, yeah, I've heard about you, and of course I've been researching about resilient stories, and and it's great that I've heard about you, and you being a First Nations, a minority of this country, and heard a bit
Hmm.
about you, and it's like, would it be possible if I could meet you for dinner and then we could talk about it? I was like, yeah, sure. And so sometimes these kind of like little functions and ideas, I usually bring my brother or uncle Tyler and just to hang out with me because I could get their feedback and what's best for me. So and so yeah, I was like, all right, let's do it. And like it was a it was a great long day of filming. It was very cold. And I know in the video I seen like a little clip art, but looks all nice. But no, it was cold. But no, it was great. And the
Mhm.
experience of filming, and I always had a passion for filming, and still to this day I film little video projects for work at the moment due to this COVID. But then yeah, and then it ends up getting like a few awards at the Alberta TV Video Awards or something over in Alberta that very year, 2016 or early 2017. And so yeah, and he said, our little video, The Failure Way, and he's little getting quite the buzz, and we're nominated for a few awards. And like, would you like to be at the premiere? I was like, no, it's okay. This is your night, and this is your project. And I was happy to be a part of it. And sure enough,
Yeah.
he sends me an email and picture, and I was like, oh, that's great. And of course, I shared it on social media, and people are proud of it. And yeah, none of that, but also I filmed another project. I was a little skeptical about it, but then again, I got some advice from my brother and this brother and family, just input on what they think. Like I did a little video with the Olympic channel. Like, oh, okay. And so I ended up filming out in Kenya. I talked about my mentor, and also like the closing circle, or the circle of life, or whatever I call it. But just with my mentor running at Tokyo, and also the Tokyo
Hmm.
2020 Olympics that was supposed to happen. Just that significance, that the amazing significance and whatnot. And so yeah, like the Olympic Channel is my latest one I did in 2018, and so that's been getting pretty great feedback as well, in which I haven't watched it yet. So
Well, I don't even know if you have time to read all your articles or watch these films that are made by, inspired by what you do. You are very busy, but, I think it's just very telling of the humility that you carry in what you do as well. You're very not only busy fulfilling your potential and um, bringing your dreams to life, but you also walk with that humility, and I really appreciate how you share that with our young people. It's one of our values. Blackfoot values is humility. So uh, kudos to you for walking with that.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so the Olympic Channel, I don't think I've seen that one. I remember hearing about it, so I just made a note here to make sure that I get to view that as well. I mean, I I've watched The Failure Way several times now on my own, and then when I showed it to different students and youth that I was teaching, as well as other colleagues, it's really a powerful snapshot of your story. And I watched it again last night,
Nice.
and I was just thinking how amazing your story is. And after I finished viewing it, I thought, wow, this person, this inspirational person, Rilee ManyBears, he has a story. And if the world could hear his story, that would be really amazing. So, I mean, I envision lots of things. And when I think of people who are doing inspirational things in their lives, I'm always thinking, okay, this needs to be a book.
Oh yeah.
Or, wouldn't it be great if this were made into a feature film? And that's exactly what I was thinking yesterday when I watched The Failure Way again. I'm sure at some point down the road, you may end up writing a book, or your memoirs, or having a movie, your story made it brought to life through film, because you really do have a powerful story, Rilee. And it's not only inspired our Indigenous, our First Nations, Niitsitapi people, but people of all walks of life that you have encountered and spoken to. Okay, so I am curious. I would like to know about your latest venture that you will be starting in, I believe, September, you had received a phone call from Olympic athlete, medalist Tessa Virtue. Tell us about that phone call.
Yeah, that's a virtue. Like wow, such a Canadian, like such an iconic Canadian athlete. And so I received an email from a good friend, Russell Reimer, who works with Manifesto Sports. And so what Manifesto Sport is they manage all these professional athletes. And I've done some work with him these past couple of years. Uh, I met him through my good friend, another Olympic legend, Haley Wickenheiser. And so yeah, and I was supposed to do this one project with him, but it went really well. But it was just like it didn't really work out. But and then he said, in maybe a couple years time, we could try again. And so and I know that I told him, I was like, well, there's, I'm just gonna let you know that I'm gonna be part of this project. Doesn't matter in a couple years time. And so he believes in, and so I know, and we just developed this amazing friendship. And I got to work with him alongside with the whole Calgary 2026 potential Winter Olympics game bids, where Calgary was potentially going to host the Winter Olympics in Calgary 2026. And so I was acting as a like a First Nations youth ambassador, just telling pretty much just attending these Olympic information sessions, just like telling like what does our First Nations people get out of it. And of course, I told them the ideas and what I want and what they want to see as a community of Calgary. And so I pretty much really made it more indigenized, add a lot of strong indigenous components, and they love the heck out of it. And they're so glad
Mm-hmm.
that, and of course, I told them about the mascots. So yeah, make the mascots like Buffalo, and they loved it. And of course, they wanted a strong relationship with First Nations communities and people and all that. But I told them about my dream of First Nation athletes competing at the Olympic Games on Canadian soil in 2026. And we're talking about like just not that just like high elite training available for people who have that passion and who want to get to that next level and none of that. But like I had a dream like all the costs will be like at a reduced price for like training fees and just get to that next level. And so that's what I envisioned, and they
Mm-hmm.
really supported that. But unfortunately, Calgary voted against it, and it was okay. And so I got to Russell Reimer send me an email like the other week or about 2 weeks ago or last week, something like that, and he said, like, oh, Tessa Virtue wants to collab with you on this upcoming project. I was like, okay. Next thing you know, yeah, I got a phone call, and it was great. It was like, I think they something to do with raising awareness and money for the Special Olympics, and asking me if I want to become a sports celebrity ambassador for that program, which will be happening in September. It'll be it'll be televised throughout Canada, and I was like, oh yeah, definitely. And she's like, great. So I know it's going to be all virtually and whatnot, and of course I got to make some videos just to challenge other celebrity sports celebrity ambassadors to duplicate what I'm doing. So I'm gonna like kind of indigenize it, like add some kind of like some power dancing into it. It's gonna be great, and I know that there's
Nice.
gonna be like a lot of amazing athletes in there. I was like, oh wow. I was like, ooh, this is like for me, like when I get invited to these kind of events, it's kind of like I'm gonna get a little geeky here. It's like when Peter Parker finally joins the Avengers. That's how I feel all the time when I get these kind of invites. I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm in. So it's great. She's just her hearing about who I am, and I'm like, oh wow, you know who I am. That's a pinch my cheek moment.
Wow. That's amazing. And I'm super excited to see how that unfolds and how the other celebrity ambassadors respond to your challenges. And just I'm very excited to see what comes next for you on your journey in athletics and also in life. I would like to mention that I would like to acknowledge that you have some amazing people in your life your circle of support seems really solid. And I mean, your uncle and your aunt, Tyler and Krista White, and your mom and your siblings. I see how connected you are to your family, and you know, Billy Mills and Patricia. I think it's amazing to have those types of people, be part of your circle of support and who've had experience and who are sharing that wisdom with you and just really supporting you as you continue on your path in life. So I want to finish off with the final four.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's where I ask you four questions.
Hmm.
And if you could answer them in, one sentence and basically the first thing that comes to mind. So here we go. Are you ready?
Oh, definitely. Bring it on.
All right. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Well, it's kind of funny. Oh, sorry. I love to talk here. I love to share stories. It's kind of funny because I used to get teased a lot in high school, but because like I mentioned before, I'm this geek kid who grew up all this pop culture superhero stuff, and it's always funny because my,
Yeah.
my friends, of course, we have this topic like, oh, what would your superpower be? And of course, they would roast me. They're like, oh, you already have a superpower. Like, oh, what is? And that is like you're invisible to girls. So I'm like, that's a good one. I would say it's true. It's true, but oh man, superpower I would have. I would say that's I guess probably like Shazam. You just say the word Shazam. You just turn into like a god, like Hercules. Like you have all the strength and powers of like Hercules, Poseidon, all the Greek gods put together. So I would say
Yeah.
Shazam and whatnot. And yeah, I would say Shazam.
That's amazing. Okay. So finish the sentence. I would tell my younger self.
Not to give up. Like I know that when I was younger, I always wished, like what was going on in my life. I always told myself I wish I would have a better life. But I would tell myself, you don't wish for a better life, you make a better life. These are normal situations that you'll go through in your life, and not only that, but they'll teach you many things in life. They'll teach you how to be grateful. They'll teach you how to be humble and be a good person. And these challenges, these obstacles will make you who you are. And so, just enjoy these barriers because they'll make you a stronger and better person.
Wow. That's beautiful. I love that.
All right.
Don't wish for a better life, make a better life. That's so amazing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we really do have the power within ourselves to change how we want to live and do what we want to do. Sometimes they say the biggest person or the most important person holding us back sometimes is ourselves. And I mean, yeah, don't wish for a better life, make a better life. I love that.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing I want the youth to know is
One thing I want the youth to know is, I always tell them just what I would pretty much what I said in the previous question, but just and don't just enjoy life while you can, because you may never get your youth back. Like I look back to my early teenage years. I didn't really have a good teenage years because like growing up with grief, anger, loss, losing, 3, 4 family members to suicide, teen suicide, they're only 16, 17 years old. And so, of course, I was living in those years of anger and grief. And, as I got older, 21, I started to do the things I missed out on my teen years, like hanging around with friends, going to movies, going bowling, and just enjoying my youth. And also just to tell them just to, be humble, be caring, be supportive of one another, never judge, like, it's never be a bully because, like you'll feel regret afterwards, just be a good caring person, respect one another, and always be yourself. Because I know that when I was really young, I all the stuff, all the geek stuff I loved, was considered lame, and I was like, well, all the drugs and alcohol you do is lame. But anyways, I like how that transition from my youth to today's now. Like everyone thinks that stuff is cool now. You like comics, anime, video games, and all that. And I was like, oh, I kind of wish I kind of grew up in this decade. But then again, I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with the whole like like technology really advanced.
Yeah.
Like back then, we didn't have like Wi-Fi. It was pretty much made the effort to see our friends and family, and so. But like yeah,
Yeah.
my advice is just be who you are, be caring, and always respect one another and care for each other.
Wow, so beautiful. Amazing. And yeah, you were ahead of the game, Riley.
Yeah, I know.
You knew what was up. So,
Yeah, definitely.
okay. Last question for the final four.
Yeah,
I believe my purpose is.
just to experience the many great and sad things in my life because this. When I think about it, this world can be really tough. The world tests you. It breaks you down, and it's up to you whether or not to get up. And so, there's many times where I've been broken. Like my depression, also my family feud. But then again, I made peace with my past. Like I forgave my cousins for what they'd done to themselves. I forgave them for committing suicide because I never understand what they went through. But as I got older, I started to understand what they went through, and so and
Mm,
also I forgave my mom what she's done. After neglecting us, kicking out my three younger siblings, and of course I started to have this amazing friendship. I don't know. To I started to have this relationship with her in early 2018, and of course it was kind of like how we met, how we started this relationship was it wasn't the greatest scenario, but I'll be happy to share with the scenario.
yes.
Um, so my younger sister, she was going through a tough time, and then she attempted suicide, and I was there at the house, and luckily I was there to save her and intervene and whatnot. And not only that, but at the time I was dating a girl and experienced in what it feels like to date and be in a relationship. And so
Yeah.
I end up saving my sister, and of course I said, oh, I was like, just really exhausted, mentally drained, and just emotionally, and then I
Hmm.
said, oh, can this day get any worse? And of course I got a message from the girl I was dating at the time says, can we talk? I was like, ugh, did I do something wrong? I was like, all right, I'll give you a call. And sure enough, I got dumped over the phone. I was like, oh, this is bad. But then again, you learn from those mistakes, and
Hmm.
it takes time to heal a broken heart. And I believe that's true. Whether it's a breakup, whether it's a loss, you end up just healing a broken heart. And then I start to have this friendship relationship with my mom from that circumstance of event. And so it's really great to have that mother's support, love, and caring. And so of course I end up losing the girl I really like, but I got my mom back. So it's kind of it's kind of a
Wow.
give and take. But yeah, like I would say in my life it's been a great adventure, and I'm very grateful for the amazing people I've met, the amazing relationships I have with people. And when I think about it, it's not about your accomplishments you have in your life, it's the relationships you have with people. I'm very grateful for the amazing relationship I have with you, Andrea, Coach Fox, and just
Hmm.
I consider you as a role model, a mentor, and I look up to you, especially in education, because I know that I'm still, I'm still figuring out what my education goals, but I did tell myself, one of these, I will have my degree one of these days, and so I know that I'm kind of busy with my personal athletic goals right now, and then
Yeah.
after I succeed in my athletic goals, and I know I will, I'll get back into the books because I remember, my dad the day before he passed away, he always said, please go to school, And I said, I will,
Yeah.
continue to go to school, and I look at my brother as well, I don't know how he does it. He takes like 7 courses out of the year semester, and he just grinds. And so I look up to him as that. And also, I understand how important education is and how important it plays in our key factor for Indigenous people. Like, yeah, I always hear this all the time: is education is the modern buffalo, and I do believe that's true because it provides
Mhm.
food, clothing, and shelter, as what the buffalo did back in the day. And so, I know that I have a few goals in life. Of course, making the Olympics is one. Having my
Mhm.
degree, and also, a memoir, and that. But also just like meet a significant other. I always like joke with Billy and Pat, and it's kind of cute and adorable. They're like, "Well, when you go to the Olympics, we could double date." So like, "Oh, that's a deal." So that's adorable. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's definitely going to be another amazing person that, when the time happens, you meet. And, I see you with somebody strong like you and fulfilling their passion and their goals and, you know, being a dream
Oh
team.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
in the meantime,
Oh yeah, it takes time.
you was
No,
that?
I said yeah, it takes time. Like I'm still very young. I'm only 24, but feels like it's been long.
Oh, well, you've done a lot, so I mean, you continue to be busy with living life and embracing everything that comes with that.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah, definitely plenty of time. And in the meantime, continue on what you're doing. I'm honored with the very kind words you just shared with me. I really appreciate that, and that's encouraging too. And I really believe, we need to do that for each other. We need to be able to, acknowledge the people around us who we believe in and encourage each other and celebrate each other. And those are our ways. It's really about lifting each other up and letting everyone know that, I see you, you are seen, and I believe in you. And it's so amazing, and you are a living example of doing that. So thank you for the kind words, Rilee. They hand to heart. And I really appreciated these final four responses that you shared. I made a few notes here because I'm someone, when I hear something that just jumps out to me, I have to make a note of it because I know at some point down the road or even the next day I may need to hear that message myself. So you have left me with lots to think about, to reflect on. And I know that everybody who is listening to your story and listening to our conversation here is going to walk away feeling more inspired,
Oh yeah, definitely.
empowered, and yeah, and to really know that they can continue to live their life in a very meaningful way. And you do that so wonderfully. So thank you, Rilee. I am just proud of you, and
Mm,
you are a warrior.
mm,
You're a true warrior, and you really are a running buffalo.
yeah.
Iinomaahka. That's such a
Hey.
beautiful, powerful thing. So we are all cheering for you. I am cheering for you. We are all cheering for you, and I look forward to seeing where your journey takes you from here.
Yeah, it's been a great journey. Like one of my greatest accomplishments, besides my athletics and personal, is being a drug and alcohol free Aboriginal Indigenous man. Like I'm coming up 5 years sober and clean, and so yeah, it's been one amazing ride in my 24 years of life. So, but then again, I don't know where this journey will take me, but I do know that it'll take me to many great places.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Wow. Well, keep it up, and we can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Now, that was such a great conversation to feel inspired by and motivated, and to remember that when life hands us some hard situations, we can always come out on the other side stronger and better and more informed about what we are capable of as human beings. I'm so grateful to have had this conversation with Rilee ManyBears. He is such a true inspiration to many people, including myself. I really hope you enjoyed that. And I know that Rilee is going to continue to do some amazing things with his life. I look forward to seeing where his journey takes him. So, to continue following Rilee on his journey, you can catch him on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. He also has a talk show that he airs every Friday as part of the Siksika Recreation and Parks Instagram account, so be sure to tune in. I believe that part of the success for many athletes is contributed to their sponsorships. Any brand that decides to sponsor Rilee is making an amazing decision, not only to support his dreams, but also the road that he's on as he continues to inspire others to follow their dreams and make them a reality. When sponsors support the dreams of many Indigenous athletes, they are also contributing to the dreams of other up-and-coming Indigenous athletes. There is so much talent and skills and potential in the Indigenous communities among our athletes. For sponsors interested in pairing up with Rilee and connecting them to their brand, please contact Rilee at ourgoodeagle@outlook.com. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I would love to hear from you, and it would mean so much to me if you subscribed, rated, and reviewed this podcast. For more Talks with a Fox, you can like our page on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Talks with a Fox Podcast. Have a beautiful, blessed day, and please remember to dream big. You play the most important part in making your dreams come true.